Hello, everybody. How's it going? I hope everybody is doing well and ready for another exciting episode of Keys, where we're going to be doing some technical demos today, which is always fun. But I've got Shlomo with me. How are you doing today?
Good. Steph, how you doing?
I'm well. It's election day in the UK. So hopefully, if you're watching this in the UK, you've gone and voted or done a postal vote. I seem to be the only person that I know that hasn't done a postal vote, but I went up to my polling station and voted. Or if you're in the States, maybe you're celebrating the 4th of July, which is exciting for them, I'm sure. But it's going well. But happy that it's almost the end of the week for
Nice.
sure.
Here, election day is a bank holiday. We get the day off.
Because I was thinking this today, right? Where I was like, if you had a job that didn't allow for you to like leave in the day to go do it, I mean, it's open 7 till 10, but like, how would that work? Like, what's the process for being able to go vote? How cool? I'm jealous. You guys get better holidays than we do. Brilliant.
Just different.
Just different. Let's do the intro. So welcome everyone to the Keys to AWS Optimization, the show where we share stories, concepts, and solutions to help you unlock your spend at AWS. I'm your host, Steph Gooch, here to help you with all your FinOps questions and journeys. And Shlomo's with me today. We're going to be talking about how to avoid cost surprises, and how to avoid cost surprises. And it's going to be a fun. We've got a technical demo, bit of backstory. And also, what's going to be really fun is we're not just going to demo the solution that Shlomo has, but how he made it, which I'm excited to get into because there's a little bit of smart technology stuff getting into that. There's no housekeeping this week. Everything I think is going well. The only things we'll be thinking about is if you have any questions, any follow-ups from any previous episodes, make sure to email us at costoptimization@amazon.com. And don't forget to give the video a like if you're on YouTube and hit that subscribe button if you're on Twitch, because you can subscribe to see all the amazing shows that are on this channel. Who have we got in the chat? Hey, CloudTrail. Oh, what's my hat from? It's a nice FinOps X hat. I have too many hats now. This is the problem. There's so many. They've leaked onto the couch. There's some on the floor. There's some in the other room. Like, I've just got too many.
You can send some over here. I run. I use hats. I go through hats like everything.
This is it, because I don't actually really wear any of these hats. I have my own set of hats that I wear, and then I have these hats. So, for saying that, if you want to send me hats, I will accept them. But yeah, Shlomo, do you want to do a quick intro? You've been on before, but let's remind the folks who you are and what you do at AWS.
Sure. So I'm Shlomo. I'm a technical account manager, and I have been a technical account manager for all 6.5 years at AWS. Last year, I spoke at One Summit, and the last 2 years, I was able to speak at reInvent. So if you've seen me there, you're welcome to. If you see me there, then great. If not, if you see me in the future, you're welcome to come up and say hi. And so I started as a regional TM, which is kind of smaller startup type customers, and I worked my way up through global and strategic, which are just bigger and bigger customers. So now I support 2 Fortune 100 customers throughout Europe, Middle East, and Africa.
Amazing, nice spread of customers. Do you focus on any specific type of companies, or is it any kind of companies just in those regions?
So my 2 customers are both in high tech.
Oh, cool. Great. And so the thing we're going to be talking about today, you mentioned reInvent. This comes from some reInvent talks that you've done already. Do you want to share a bit of background about those talks and what you kind of covered and how you've moved into this new solution that you've got?
Sure, I'd love to. So so like I mentioned, I spoke twice at reInvent, and I spoke both times on ways to avoid cost surprises. I spoke with 2 different other folks, and they were both chalk talks, so they're not recorded. But I have to really say, chalk talks and workshops and game days at either summits or reInvent are really the best. You really get that kind of personal touch, and especially with chalk talks where we encourage class participation. We want people to be talking to us. So I really find that those are really engaging and some of the best opportunities to engage with the speakers. So I spoke twice about the same topic, and last year, after coming home from reInvent, I had a message from a friend of mine who said, "Look, my daughter's going to university, and she wants to, make sure. He literally said she wants to make sure that she doesn't have cost surprises. And so I was like, oh, that's great. I just talked about this. So she needs to go over here and do this, and go over there and do that, and go over somewhere else and do something else. And I was like, wow, this is going to be especially since it wasn't recorded. I was like, wow, this is going to be tough. I mean, I can write up all of my notes, or I can
Yeah.
send them something, but it wasn't so streamlined. I didn't have anything to actually give him, and so I had this idea, and I've had this idea since, we're saying like December, January timeframe. But a couple of things came up recently that enabled me to kind of progress on this project. So the project is, I took these ways to avoid cost surprises that I would have recommended to my friend, and I built them into a CloudFormation template. The main purpose, or the main or the target audience, it would be new users, free tier type users, students. These are the kinds of people that I was focusing on when I built this, and I had all of those kinds of folks in mind. So the defaults are all very low. But if you are not a free tier user, if you're actually using, you using your AWS account in production, there's nothing that stops you from using the same template. And if you're familiar with CloudFormation, you know that you can have some parameters. And so there are actual parameters in there so that you can go in and you can change the defaults and use something else, and kind of tweak it for what you're looking for.
Perfect. I love that it's literally come from someone asking you, how do you do this? And I've had the same thing where it's like, okay, well, you need to do this, but you also need to do this. And there are all these moving parts. But the fact that you've taken it and turned it into a CloudFormation template that can be deployed is great. And if you are watching and you are, like you said, as somebody who is trying out cloud or wanting to kind of share some best practices and what it looks like, I think this is also a good concept of showing you that there is stuff that you can configure in infrastructure as code that can be rolled out across your organizations. And sometimes when people see a lot of the things that we demo, especially when we set up in the console, they're like, oh, I have to go and set this up in 500 accounts. We're like, no, there's ways of doing it in the code. And I have to tell you guys, there's been a whole conversation in the chat, which I was confused about, which is where Cloud Strife is saying, can you do an impression of Bill Pullman for the day that it's in? And I'm like, what? And it's Independence Day. It's from the film, and that I check out. I don't even know this film. And they're like, I know the film Independence Day, but I've never seen it. So there's some film content for us, as we always love.
Oh wow, it's a great film. It's just I haven't seen it in a long time.
Ah, there you go. Add that to my film list. But thanks for the film chat. We know I love it. Okay, so now we've kind of set the context of this. Should we? Do you want to kind of quickly overlay what resources and services it covers, and then we'll go into the demo?
Sure. So the first thing it's going to do is it's going to give you two budgets. So one budget is the auto adjusting. I have to get the right. I always call them dynamic, but it's the official name is auto adjusting, based on the last 6 months. So as you use your account, as you go through, let's say the semester, or as you keep going, that one will auto adjust, and it will also make a fixed budget, kind of like a free tier kind of thing, like, oh, and so the defaults on both of those, or sorry, the default on the auto adjusting auto adjusts. The default on the fixed one is a penny. That was the lowest it could go. I actually asked the budgets. I spoke last year with someone from budgets, so I actually went back to him and said, how do I, what is how low can I go? And he said a penny. So when you get to like 80% of a penny, you'll get an alert. If you get to 90% of a penny, you'll get another alert. Um, and again, those are adjustable. But the idea is, I wanted a free tier layer, and I wanted the auto adjusting as things grow. You can, because what happens to me is, like, I'll set a fixed budget, and then I'll start using the account, and the fixed budget doesn't mean anything anymore, because so after like a week or something, it's already kicking off. And so I've got the auto adjusting budget that's also in there to kind of keep me honest. And I don't know if people have used the auto adjusting budgets. It tells you on the first of the month what your budget, what your limit is. And so if you've got if you have a notification at like 80% of your limit, it tells you at the beginning of the month, this is what it's at. And so that's what's going on there. And the fixed budget is based on forecast, which is something I also learned from my talk prep last year. So if you instead of doing an AWS budget based on a certain number, if you do it based on the forecast, as Cost Explorer and AWS budgets thinks that you're going to hit that number, it tells you earlier and earlier in the month. So
Ah.
so you get more of a warning. Oh, it looks like you're going to hit your limit by the end of the month, and so you should know about that now. So those are the first two, and the next thing is the cost anomaly detection. Not
Mhm.
detector, it's detection. Again, I get them confused. But so we set one of those up, and again, I set a threshold. Again, the default threshold is a penny. So
Mhm.
anything that's going to be a spike, right? So cost anomaly detection uses AI. It looks at your spend, and it tells you about spikes essentially. So any
Mhm.
spike in your account, it's going to tell you about. Now, the great thing about both budgets and cost anomaly detection is it sends you an email of, it sends you an email saying this is the, something is flagged, go look at it. And when you go in to actually look at it, there are links to Cost Explorer, and all the filters go in, so it shows you exactly why it was why it flagged it for you.
Right.
And cost anomaly detection, of course, you can give it feedback. So those are kind of like the basic low-hanging
Mhm.
fruit on ways to avoid cost surprises. Now, I went a little beyond that, and what I did is I built two other things where I've often seen customers get tripped up. So one of them is S3 bucket multi-part upload fragments.
Yeah.
So multi-part upload fragments, or MPUs, are pieces of files. If you have a big file and you're uploading it to S3, it cuts it up into a bunch of pieces and it starts uploading. Now, if your
Mhm.
internet connection goes down or you stop it or whatever, those pieces still sit in S3 and you pay for them, but you can't see them.
Yeah.
The idea is that you can continue that upload. So if you're uploading a terabyte and you get halfway through, you can continue the other half. But otherwise, they just sit there. So
Yeah.
what we're going to do is I built a Lambda, and it will go in, and when you create a new bucket, it will automatically put in a lifecycle policy to delete multi-part upload fragments after a week. So it gives you that week to finish your
Just
upload
in
if you're going to
case, if you
continue
need
it,
to. Yeah.
just in case. Um, but it will take care of that, and it'll clean it all out for you. Um, Now, the way that we trigger, the way that we know that you've created a new bucket is through a CloudTrail event, which can be seen in EventBridge.
Mhm.
So, but I don't necessarily expect a new user to have created a CloudTrail. They
Yeah.
may have, they may not have. So I have another Lambda that gets run by CloudFormation, and it goes to all of your enabled regions, and it looks for a CloudTrail. And if you have a CloudTrail, it just stops and says, "Okay, you're good." And if you don't have a CloudTrail, then it's going to create one for you. It's going to create an S3 bucket. It's going to create the CloudTrail, and it's going to say, and it's going to tell you that it's going to tell CloudTrail to put all of the data into the bucket. So first of all, from a security perspective, that's super important, because if anything ever happens to your account, you've got that CloudTrail,
Yeah.
and so you can dig into that. Um, and it allows us to do this trapping for create buckets. In addition to the create bucket, uh, I also have another Lambda that's going to create for you, and it's going to find CloudWatch log group. It's going to find the creation of new CloudWatch log groups, and it's going to add a retention period. So by default, it keeps those logs forever. And if you're running a Lambda, let's say, which we just talked about, three
Yeah.
Lambdas, right? So if you're creating a Lambda, it's going to keep those forever. And so the default that I set is a month. So it'll set all new CloudWatch log groups to save it for a month. You can change that in the setup, and we'll show you how to do that. Uh, and you can even change it after the fact. Like after after you make a log group, you can say, no, I really need this for 3 months. So you
Yeah.
change it, and this thing isn't going to go find it again. Now,
Um,
Now, those two lambdas and the CloudTrail and the event bridge rules that get created to trap those events are only in the region that you deploy in, right? So you
Right.
deploy your CloudFormation into one region, but you've got a bunch of other regions, right? So you've got a bunch of other regions that are enabled by default, and you could potentially enable
Spend loads
other
of money in all
regions.
of them.
Yeah, exactly. So, but you could eventually, you could, you could turn on other regions, and so another thing that the project deploys is a Lambda. It runs the Lambda one time, and then it sets it to continuously run again. I don't remember it's the default. I think the default is 1 day every day,
Okay.
but you could set it for a week, an hour, whatever you want. And this Lambda goes out to all of the enabled regions and it looks for those event bridge rules, and it will create new rules that forward the create bucket and the create log group back to the central region where those lambdas will
Oh,
get kicked off. So even if I go create a bucket in another region, that will get trapped and it will find it and it'll still get the taken care of.
amazing. Okay, cool. Is that everything?
That's everything it deploys
Yeah,
today. I just
cool.
wanted to, since we're talking about free tier, I wanted to mention that in my testing accounts, I did see a cost of up between 0 and 2 cents a day for the CloudTrail event requests pushing the data into S3. I haven't actually paid for S3 yet, but there's these events that it's always sending when you log in and
Okay.
do things. So there's a potential cost. I think 30 or 60 cents to make sure that I'm going to get warned about these things. You probably get that back in savings really quick.
Yeah. The just the habit to prepare you or prevent you from wasting money. But these are all great things, and you're probably thinking if you're watching, like, oh, I've heard of all these individual things, and it's nice to see that we're putting them all together in a wrapper so we can just deploy them. So let's kick off into the demo and show us how this deploys and what it actually looks like at the console and how it works. So if
Yeah.
I show your screen, there we go.
Okay. So this is a new account. I created it a couple days ago. I've logged in and I've done like the next, so it doesn't have all the pop-ups. That's all I've done on this
Right.
account. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to CloudFormation. And I have nothing. I happen to be in the Ohio region. So this is all on GitHub, and when we share the link, you'll see that there's a couple of services that are required by the project. So it limits the regions to, I don't know, let's say half of the regions. The region I try to deploy in a local region, and it didn't work because it was missing a couple two services. So I actually included a link so you can go and check which regions have those services. But I think all of whether it's Ireland, Virginia, Ohio, Oregon, like all of the big regions all have
Mhm.
all of these services, so that's not a problem. So
Right.
I've gone to CloudFormation. I'm going to do a create stack with new resources. I don't have any existing resources. I'm going to use an existing template, and I'm going to upload that template, and I'm going to do choose file. Can you see the choose file? Can you see? Nope. Okay.
No.
Okay, that's fine. So I'm going to just go
Yeah, we don't
through
need to
my
see all of your files.
yeah. So I'm just going to go through and find the file. It's here.
There's a new thing which is sync from GitHub, which I'm interested in. So I'm gonna have a little nosy in that, I think, in the future, because that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm not familiar with that. Honestly, I've been using GitHub to like publish things, but
Yeah. But
I
it's
haven't
I was
used a lot of the
surprised. I was
features.
like, yeah, how is that not a thing? So I'm excited to mess around with that. If anyone in the chat's used it, let me know if you've used the sync from GitHub.
And I also want to note down here that it's basically created an S3 bucket that it's going to upload the file into and then run the CloudFormation out of that S3 bucket. That's how when you upload a file, it works. So I've done this
Ah.
multiple times, and I've probably got 6 or 7 or maybe more of these CF template buckets in my account. Not in this account, in my other account. Okay, so I need to name it something. So we'll name it keys to cost optimization. And it tells you only alphanumeric characters.
Yeah. That's fine.
Okay. And you need an email address. So I'm going to give it amazon.com. Okay. And like I mentioned, so we have here the cost anomaly detector parameter. So this is the threshold that we're going to use for the cost anomaly detector. Detection is the official name. And I have my fixed budget parameter. Now, if you wanted to, so I have a bunch of notes in here for students or free tier accounts. The recommendation is the default, and I have some information here where you can look into to get further information. I couldn't put in a link. I tried to put in a link and I
Yeah,
couldn't, but I have some documentation here
perfect.
about a workshop about using budgets.
Oh, great.
Um, Log retention. So I use a default of 30 days. You can go down to 1 day, and I think up to like 10 years. 3653 is 10
Wow.
years. Um, so I could not figure out how to allow 0 or like never, which kind of
Yeah, I think
would
it
defeat
has
the
to be in there for 24
right, which
hours. Yeah.
it would defeat the purpose. So
Yeah, you just wouldn't have logs.
right, so I'm going to take the default here, and then that event bridge rule lambda, which is the lambda that goes out and finds new regions and looks for new regions. Like I said, the default is once a day, but you can set it for hours or minutes, and you can set it for whatever you want. So you can set it for once a
Cool.
month, once a week. Um, like we're not. I don't expect and that people are going to be often enabling new regions. But
Mhm.
what I do expect is when a new region comes to certain areas, right? We just announced what Taiwan, right? So if you're
Mhm.
sitting in Taiwan, when Taiwan becomes available, I would expect that you're going to go start it up and you're going to start playing in that region. And I want to make sure that if you create a bucket or if you create a Lambda or anything that would create a CloudWatch log group, that you would be protected. So
Yeah.
that's why I kind of set this for once a day.
Mhm.
And the Lambda costs here, if you're in a free tier, it's going to be
It,
0
it
because
won't be.
it's like really like minimal amounts, and even when you're not in free tier, it's like
It's still minimal.
it's still really minimal. And then I'm going
Awesome.
to hit next. You should tag your projects. I'm going to say this again without my voice going out. You should please tag your projects. So I'm going to call this project, and I'm going to call this automated. It was automated cost avoidance. Avoidance. Okay. Please tag your resources. This is how everything in the CloudFormation template gets this tag. I actually tried to figure out a way to behind the scenes force some tags. I
Mhm.
haven't gotten there yet. And I even thought about automating the it's cost allocation tags, so that
Oh, okay.
whatever tag you put in would automatically be allocated. Again, I haven't gotten that far yet. I haven't gotten that to work yet.
The future of the solution.
Yeah. Okay. And I'm going to take the defaults, and that's it.
Perfect.
So just going to do tagging here, and then it's going to give me a review page. And here's all of the things that I put in. So if anyone needs to send me an email, there you go. And way down here at the bottom, it's going to say, so because it's creating IAM resources, you need to click and say, yes, I understand you're making IAM resources. So you click on this and you say go. It should take about 2 minutes, maybe less, maybe a little
So
more to deploy everything. Yes.
I'll say while that's deploying, I'll take that down. And we had a question earlier. Where did it go? Oh, here we go. So while that's deploying, any good stories of anomaly detection in action that you've seen with your customers?
So Steph actually asked me a similar question earlier today, and so as a TAM, I kind of regularly go in and check on how my customer spends. So I'm their anomaly detection, and I found some stuff that they didn't see, and I told them about it, and they're like, "Oh wow, that's great, thanks. How could we have known about this?" And I was like, "Cost anomaly detection." Uh,
So you are the human form of cross anomaly detection, is what I'm hearing.
I mean, I personally have been saved by this several times where it's like you get an email in the morning and you're like, what's going on here? And you're like, oh, I left an EC2 running
Oh,
for days or something because my automated turn it off didn't work.
yeah. I'll also a good story is I'll shout out Larry from Twilio, who I did my FinOpsX talk with. He has a great story about how anomaly detection caught fraud for DynamoDB, and so it from the fraud it really spiked the spend, and then they got the alert and they went to the team that owned it and said, "Hey, what's going on? Like, are you developing something? Like, why is the spend?" And they were like, "That's not us." And so they were able to go and figure out what had gone wrong. So enabling it has caused these like savings in other areas. So we do always encourage it. New accounts should have it enabled by default, but it is one of those things where you have to make sure you've set it. It will email the like owner of the account or the business email of the account, something like that. So if you want to have one that goes directly to a distribution list of managing your account or your FinOps team, do set them up. All right, so we check back in with your deployment. How are we doing in here?
It's done.
Yay, super quick. All
Yeah,
righty then.
we
Let's
told
go
enough
check out
stories.
these resources. Well, it's about time.
Right. So, so first of all, so these are the events, and I've got some resources here. If you're not familiar with CloudFormation, so I have an anomaly monitor, the anomaly subscription, the auto adjusting budget. This is one of the lambdas. This is an event rule, another event rule, right? So I'm half the time I'm reading here. This is auto adjusting here. It says it's an event rule, and I've got some budgets, and so I can go into any of these, but it won't actually show you anything interesting. I think what we should do though is if we move over to S3,
Right.
and so here we have two buckets, right? So I mentioned the CloudFormation bucket. That's the CF templates, blah, blah, blah. And my CloudTrail logs are already here. Now, if I go to create another bucket, so I have to come up with something that is unique in the world, right? That's how
Oh,
S3 works. So,
it is on keys or something, yeah.
okay. And I'm just going to take all of the defaults and I'm going to do create bucket. Okay. So now I'm sitting in Ohio. I'm sitting in Ohio. My account is I'm in the Ohio region. The bucket is in Ohio, so I can come here and and the lifecycle policies are sitting in the management, and it's already here.
Amazing.
It's
Wow,
already
that was
shown
so
up.
quick.
Yeah. So it's already here, and it says incomplete multi-part uploads. Delete after 7 days. Now,
Perfect.
if I go to Virginia, and I don't have this bucket here, but if I go to Virginia and I go to buckets and I go to create a bucket here, and I'm going to call I have to call it something else, so we'll call it number 3. And I'm going to come all the way down to the bottom and hit go. So this one might take an extra little bit. So I should hit refresh. And here it is.
There it is.
Okay.
Amazing. Yeah.
Now, if we go over to CloudWatch, this is the other. This was the other automated update that we did, and I'm going
And
to
just
come over.
before
Yeah.
you move into the CloudWatch, just a quick question to double check. How much does the stack cost to run again?
So the stack cost. So the stack is essentially free because depending on how much you're using your account, CloudTrail sends data to S3 pretty regularly. And so in my test accounts, I've seen 0, 1, or 2 cents per day for the CloudTrail events going into S3. But I'm actually paying for the S3 data. I'm paying for the requests, the events going in. So somewhere between 0 and 60 cents per month.
Don't blow the bank.
Yeah.
Love it. Hopefully that helps. Cool. Continue. CloudWatch.
Okay. So we're in CloudWatch, and I'm going to go to my CloudWatch logs, and I'm in Virginia, so I don't have any CloudWatch logs yet. I should have in Ohio from the lambdas that ran, and so here I can call it whatever I want because it is not unique across the world, just for me. and I'm going to hit create. And here we're looking for at the, I'm just going to close the sidebar here. We're looking at the never expire, right? So the never expire should change if everything worked well.
Always the test. Ooh,
There's demos.
who knows? The risk of live demos. So
This
yeah, I mean,
1 month.
there
There
we
we go.
go. 1 month. Love it.
Okay, and that's it. So anything that gets stored in this group will be stored for a month, and then it will go away. And then, and just to show you, if we go back to Ohio, then we should have those. Right. So we have these. These are the 4 lambdas that we created. These are the logs for the 4 lambdas. So we're going to talk in a little bit about CloudFormation. One of the things that that I learned when I first started playing with CloudFormation, and I am nowhere near an expert. I've got lots of things to learn about it. For example, right now you can only use one email address that I use for both the for the budgets and the cost anomaly detection. If you wanted to do 2 email addresses, you'd actually have to go in afterwards and go configure that, as opposed to just putting in a list. So
Yeah.
there is a way in CloudFormation to take a list and kind of iterate over it, but it was so I haven't gotten it to work yet.
Fair enough.
Like,
Things that are coming. We've said this is going to be stuff in the future.
yeah. So, but it was like, but I got stuck in the CloudFormation, and like I was, Steph and I were talking about hardening the script, the CloudFormation a bit today, and I was like working on it, and I haven't touched it for like 2 weeks, and I'm getting this weird error, and I'm like, what is going on here? And then I realized what my error was, and I was like missing, some special CloudFormation piece in the YAML that was like populating the variables instead of them just coming through. So it's definitely CloudFormation is definitely I felt like I had to choose CloudFormation. Number one, it's native, but number two, it's the easiest one for the user to use. But I think it might be more challenging for the person setting it up.
Okay.
But what I wanted to point out here with the logs is each one of these has this code at the end. So I did that. It's a piece of the CloudFormation stack ID, and I grabbed that and I used that. So when I was doing my testing, I would try and rerun the CloudFormation again, and it would die because it was like, oh, you've already got something called that. So I added this piece of randomness just in case. So that way, especially like with S3 buckets and things, right? When I make the S3 bucket for CloudTrail, it has to be unique, and so I can't just put in something static. So they always have this bit of randomness in there. So we have our logs here, and I just wanted to show real quick that we have our lambdas. Now, to start talking a little bit about the build process, I am not. Go away. I am not a Python programmer, but these are written in Python. I am a Bash programmer, and the way that I would normally, for myself, build a script that I wanted to do quickly is I would write it in Bash. I have 2 EC2 instances. One is on Intel, one is on Graviton on ARM. And I there was a blog post that came out, which I don't have a link to, about basically building a container, putting it in ECR, and then using that for Lambda. And it was running a little bash script. So I took that, and I took a bunch of the Lambdas that I had written as bash scripts in using a custom runtime, and I moved them to being container based. Now, in order to make this efficient for the users of this project, and to be able to have CloudFormation push this in, I couldn't just share my ECR containers. I mean, I could, but then I would be paying every time someone grabbed it. So I didn't want to do that. And the Python runs much faster than pulling an ECR container. So I had to rewrite them in Python. What's that?
I said that's more optimized then as well. If you're
it is more optimized, but it was quite challenging. So what I ended up doing is I used a Bedrock-based Gen AI LLM using Claude. It was Claude Sonnet. and I basically said, I want a Python Lambda that deletes S3 multi-part uploads, and it spat it out, and I said in Python, and it spat it out, and then I
Yeah.
would take that, I would copy it into a Python into a Lambda, and then I would
Wow.
kind of test it and play with it and add variables and do some different things. Now, one of the other CloudFormation isms that I ran across is if I want to, so the CloudFormation actually runs two Lambdas. It runs the CloudTrail setup, which you can
Mhm.
see at the bottom here, and it runs the regional event bridge rules. So the CloudTrail setup is generally a one-time thing. The event bridge rules, I want to run it when you run the CloudFormation, but that's the one that runs every day, every week, every month, whatever, to find new regions and set up the
Okay.
rules. But when you run, in order to run a Lambda, in order to have CloudFormation run the Lambda, you have to tell it it's a custom it's a custom resource. So CloudFormation has this ability to deploy a Lambda, run it, and then collect data that the Lambda went and got. So if there's some piece of information that you need that you can't really get into CloudFormation natively, you could have a Lambda go out and get it for you. Um,
Right. Okay.
but CloudFormation is expecting a specific kind of answer from the Lambda. But when I run the event bridge rule Lambda monthly, Lambda's
Mhm.
expecting a different kind of answer. So, so I actually had to code specifically. It actually captures if it's running through the event data. It actually knows if it's running if it's running from CloudFormation or if it's being run by a schedule or something else,
Oh, okay.
or manually. And so it changes the output based on if it's being run by CloudFormation or not. Now
Oh, good to know.
the not to get too deep in the Python weeds, um, if you have a variable in Python that's not set, it complains, and so you have to like
Yes.
set it to null or something. So
Mhm.
the code, in order to, if it's not, if it's running in CloudFormation, set this thing to 1. If it's not, set it to 0 or whatever I did. I don't even remember. Um, it's not difficult Python if you're in Python every day, but I'm not in Python every day. And so
Yeah.
the LLM was the one that actually came up with a one-liner that was like, and I can read Python. So as soon as I saw it, I'm like, yes, that's what I
Yes.
need. So
Amazing.
that was pretty great. So my build process, like I mentioned, so I have an account and I would build these lambdas, and I would kind of get it working, and I would
Yeah.
test it, like how I did, create this and create that, and did it work, and did I have any errors? Um, okay, so now I've got all of these resources, and uh, but I now I need to build CloudFormation, and it's not something I
Mm.
do every day. So
Well, let me pause you there because I want to ask a quick question to
yeah.
the audience. So get yourselves ready for a quick poll, everybody. This is a longer poll. So what IC do you use? So I am a heavy CloudFormation. So CloudFormation is 1, Terraform is 2, CDK 3, 4 other / you don't use it. But pop it in the chat of what people are using because I also do use Terraform as well. So, but yeah, I'm having to learn CDK at the moment for some workshop stuff, and I'm just like having to learn a whole new one is very challenging. So it's interesting. Okay, so a lot of Terraform. I mean, I'm a big Terraform stan. That's what I used to use most of the time. So great to see that people are still doing it, and a bit of CDK love. Okay, awesome. All right, yeah, let's go back.
That was a decision I had to make, right? Because
Yeah,
CDK and SAM, right? They both produce CloudFormation. So the question was, how am I going to get? What is the easiest way for me as a non-CloudFormation, non-CDK type person to generate the CloudFormation?
yeah,
So what I ended up doing was CloudFormation has the IAC generator. So I don't know if you've
right.
spoken about this on the keys to cost
No.
optimization. So what you can do is you go into CloudFormation, and off on the side it says IAC generator, and you go in there
Mhm.
and you do a scan, and it says how long it's going to take per number of resources. It takes a few minutes, and then you select the resources that you want to include in a new template. So I would do this like one Lambda at a time or one component at a time. And it generates it, you download it, and now you've got this kind of very static CloudFormation with all of the and it also figures out, oh, you need these IAM permissions, you need some of this other things that go along with it, and so it gives you all of that. So if you click on the Lambda, let's say, all of the things it needs with it kind of come along with it for the most part, like the IAM permissions and things. It understands that. And then you have this template. So then I would take the template, I would bring it into my IDE, and I would add the pieces that added those codes and stuff on the end. And I would I added the parameters and a bunch of these kinds of things, and iterate over it. And I would do one Lambda or one chunk at a time, get it to work, and then I would copy it into the overall file. The file's like 1,700 lines or 1,800 lines.
Yeah, I've seen it. And if you are thinking also, and you've joined us, and you're like, what are these guys talking about? What's the solution? You can check out all the code just down here at this GitHub link. And there is a lot. It's because I think a lot of it is using joins, and so it spreads it out, and it is very, very long. But it is, I think you're right, especially if you don't use it a lot, the generator is going to help you do it. And the good thing is, like you said, if you do it in chunks, you start to understand like how these things fit together, what you need. And also, I'm a big advocate of like templatizing stuff. So I have a template I use Lambda, a template that has like CloudWatch, IAM, Lambda, and access permissions for like triggers on CloudWatch. And I use the same one over and over again and make it work. And I make the permissions exactly what I need. And then I just replace the Python code and the environment variables and any IAM that I need. And it works almost instantaneously. So the more you get to use it and the more you know what exactly you need to make it work, the easier it becomes.
Nice. I actually so it's just a funnyism from so CloudFormation, you can do JSON or YAML, yet another markup language. I did YAML, and I did Python, both of which are white space. They really care about white space, and so when I first built my lambdas, they were all off one way or the other, and they wouldn't work.
That is such a big problem with that kind of stuff. It's just so pernickety. Okay, anything else you want to mention before we wrap up for today?
So I just really wanted to reiterate, like, anyone can use this. Please go to the GitHub page. I'm happy to get feedback, and ideally, the target that I would really be looking at would be free tier users, new users, people that are worried about starting to get their feet wet in AWS, and especially educators, teachers, professors that are teaching these topics that they should tell their students about this project and use it, please.
Amazing, will do. Someone's already looked at the code. Oh yeah, the joins are atrocious. That's not Shlomo's fault. That's just the length of the joins.
I tried to figure out how to get how to create a parameter that I could just do the join once and keep using it over and over again. I couldn't do it.
And Sebastian says, I was getting so much operational cost and I just have log levels. Interesting. Well, if you want to learn more about CloudWatch logs, we've actually got the CloudWatch team coming on next week to talk about a new announcement. So make sure you tune in next week. Or as always, if you want to watch us after the fact, that you can check out the YouTube channel, if I can ever find the link. And if you are watching on YouTube, as always, don't forget to give us a like and subscribe. With that, I will get ready for Richard's summary. So if he wants to bring that up, Secret Richard. So at the end of every episode, we have Secret Richard come up with some a summary of what we've talked about, and I get to read it without having seen it, which is always a funny thing for me to do at the end of an episode. So make free tier free. That's great, especially the 4th of July. I love that. Okay, use it or lose it. Incomplete NPUs have gone up in 7 days. So much love for sorting out NPUs. Just look out as well. We've got some content coming about them in the future, so keep an eye on it. And finally, we will not go quietly into the night. We will not vanish without a fight. That's from Independence Day.
This is our Independence Day.
Thank you, Secret Richard, for pulling up the Independence Day. Okay, homework for Steph to go watch Independence Day. I understand my mission. Brilliant. Okay, thank you so much for watching and tuning in. Shlomo, thank you for sharing this solution. Excited to see how people use it. And don't forget, you can go and follow that GitHub repo and see how he progresses with any additions to the solution. But thank you so much for joining today. And anything else before we finally say goodbye?
Nope, that was it. Thank you.
Perfect. That's short and sweet. Okay, have a good rest of your day, everybody, and we'll see you all next time. Bye.